Hey, this is Alan Powell from the film The Song. You're listening to Dispatch Radio.
Well, we're still talking about the song. It opens September 26th, and you've heard some of the interviews and some of the insight on the film. We love the film, and we can't get you folks out there enough. So we have another actress on with us, Caitlin Nicol-Thomas. How are you?
I am really good, thank you. How are you guys?
Oh, we're so blessed. Caitlin, you're kind of the villain in this movie, though, by the way. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Oh, I didn't. No.
You didn't? I mean, let me read this is for your people. I love the description. The beautiful, brazen, and sultry singer and violinist. If you're a violinist, at least.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Just as hundreds of wives and concubines led Solomon astray, Shelby ensnares Jed in a world of temptation and addiction that nearly destroys him. Bum, bum, bum.
Okay. That does sound horrible. You're right. I'm the villain.
It is a very interesting role, though. You had to just be totally pushed to the edge, though, because it's high energy, very charismatic. And, hey, you got to star next to Alan Powell. That can't be that bad.
I'm going to be honest with you. That was not bad at all.
I think my wife and many other women are all nodding along right now.
Oh, I know. My sister's always going, and she's married, has 2 beautiful kids. She always says, "How's Alan doing today?" And I'm like, "Would you stop? I'll let you ask about me." No.
Yeah. So, what was it like playing Shelby? I mean, how when you read Shelby, were you like, "That's the role for me"? I mean, how do you decide to go down that role, or do you go in with a more of an ambiguous audition, and they say, "Hey, listen, would you be interested in playing Shelby?" How did that work out?
Yeah, well, it worked out where my agent called me. She said, I have an audition for you, and I said, okay. And it's basically you get a quick rundown. So I do believe I've read that character description before. I just put it in my back of my mind. So I read that, and it's just I was blown away and excited because I literally thought, oh my goodness, I get to play the complete opposite of me, which. I'm a musician, I'm a performer, I'm an actress. I can't wait for more roles to come, but this was really exciting for me to get to play someone who I wasn't. And went in an audition, got a call back, and read with another guy, and then they put me with Alan, and Alan and I read together, and it was just like, oh my goodness. Just that chemistry was there, and we get along so well as friends. And but taking on the role of Shelby, like you said, it's charismatic, it's high energy, and that is such the truth. It was also hard because I am a very happy, optimistic person and in real life, and Shelby is, not that she's not, I guess it was hard to be that dark.
She's just worldly. It's okay. I mean, it wasn't really, I don't think she means to be pessimistic. She's just consumed, right?
Well, and I created a big backstory for her, childhood, parents. I have a huge backstory for Shelby that, of course, you never see on screen, but it's how I was able to emotionally get to a place to be able to play her. And that's why I have a lot of love for Shelby, and I defend her sometimes because I feel like she had a very rough past. So it was hard. There were days where it was really hard because I had to be so down and sad and depressed, and I literally would just have to tell my husband or tell my my friends my best friends I've made from set, makeup and hair and wardrobe, please don't talk to me that much today because they make me laugh and they make me giggle. And I would really have to stay in a state of just please don't talk to me, because it was hard to play her. It was sad. A lot of parts were sad, and a lot of parts were amazing where I got to just be. I am also a real musician. I got to be a performer I've never, I guess, been courageous enough to be. So that was exciting.
It was actually the exciting aspect of the music is just off the chart for me. That was probably the biggest surprise. That I joke with Alan. I said, Alan, in case that Anthem Lights thing doesn't work out, the Americana thing actually kind of works for you, just so you know. But I mean, your chemistry on stage, Richie did such an amazing job pulling that production value together to keep that high energy so that when we have the darker times, you really feel like the train is completely derailed, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And kudos to Richie because, he did have such a great story to start with to write about, but the fact that he took that story on, brought it to life, and then, you know, I was telling Richie, you know, sometimes you go into an audition or you'll read lines that are just like, ooh, how do I make this real? You know, that are a struggle. Richie, what he wrote, it was just flawless to me, seamless to me. It wasn't hard to recreate what he said, I guess.
That's what Allie said, and that's what Allie said too. That he.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Allie Faulkner said the same thing. For those of you that missed one of our earlier interviews, Allie said the same thing. That's just he really wrote well for me. So me playing Rose was very easy. It was natural because the dialogue was not a struggle. You sound like you're saying the same kind of thing, right? It was just very smooth to step in from that aspect.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's just. I'm so excited for his career as well. You know, I just thought he did an amazing job. It was just real. So
when you go to the dark place and you're playing this character, and you mentioned the difficulty staying there and all of that, how does that stay on set? How do you leave that behind for the day? Like, okay, well, I know it's been 15 hours, but now you got to actually, you know, be Caitlin for a few minutes and actually try to enjoy your life a little bit. How do you as an actress turn that on and off?
Yeah, that, you know, to get to, to turn that on is painful because for me, this is my first movie, so it was very new to me, and to kind of get to the dark places I needed to go, I have had a lot of acting classes when I was younger, but yeah, to get to that dark place, I didn't just think of Shelby's past. Like, that didn't get me emotionally where I needed to go. I don't know if that was right or wrong as an actress. For me personally, I had to think of, I lost a high school friend. At the time, it was just a year or two before that, in a car accident. He was by himself, and I had to, for my really hard scenes, I basically had to think about that day for him and him being alone. And so I honestly had to really get myself to a dark place and a sad place. To stay crying for hours and hours. And then it is a little hard. Sometimes, some days I literally would be able to fall asleep and sleep it off. And there were other days it kept me up, and I was really troubled by it. But the power of prayer and positive thought, you know, got me through to kind of have my soul, I guess, become more restful and not so anxious and upset.
Now, and you are, you know, openly about your Christianity and all of that. So the Song of Solomon, Ecclesiastes, did you read up even more? Or did you know enough to feel comfortable, like you knew kind of what you're getting into a little bit? Or how did you kind of relate to the biblical inspiration that's behind this?
Yeah, I definitely had to read up, and I spent, again, Richie and Alan are so knowledgeable. My husband is very knowledgeable of the Bible and the beautiful stories and the Word, and so I was able to chat with them a lot. I was able to ask a lot of questions about everything, and it was just so wonderful to be surrounded by, again, Richie and Alan and my husband, and to really help me understand. You know, it's hard to interpret. It's hard to know. It's hard to learn a lot of the stories from the Bible. I think that's why it's it's a never-ending journey. That's the beautiful thing for me, I think. But yeah, so I just was surrounded by really wonderful people that were willing to talk to me about it and answer questions and get me to an understanding that led me to kind of become Shelby.
Now, as a musician, obviously you can relate to Jed's plight somewhat, and I asked Alan about the same way, you know, and it's like, you know, you're thrust in a world of temptation, and, you know, I mean, it can be, you can blink and you're down a slippery slope and into a place where you're like, how on earth did I get here? And Jed kind of goes, I mean, how much of that can you speak on? You know, I'm not saying that you personally have gone there. I'm just saying that that element that's, you know, brought to life to me so vividly in this film.
Absolutely. Again, going back to Sim, you know, running and talking to people saying, "Oh, I'm so glad you're not like Shelby." It's like, well, yes, there are a lot of parts, excuse me, that I'm not like Shelby. I don't understand. Pardon me. I had to do a lot of research, you know, on YouTube about drug use, and you know, I had to do a lot of research. And With that, though, as far as being a musician, being on the road, I did not have to do any research whatsoever. I already know what it's like. My husband is also a touring musician. He's been on the road since he was 4 years old. And I've been on the road for 7. And unfortunately, you know, I'm not judging people, but I've been around it. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's sad. The mistakes made. I know a lot of men that have choose to not go on the road anymore because the temptation is too hard. Because you are surrounded by people that would do anything to get with you. And, you know, Alan and I have talked a lot about it, where, because, like you said, to make it real, to make it feel like you're really there, it's not like some girls kind of come along with tattoos and this wild child, you know, of a girl when he's married to this beautiful, wonderful woman. That's not just going to happen. That's not just going to, he's not just going to cheat on his wife.
Right. There's a lot of dominoes. There's a lot of dominoes that fall that lead up to that vulnerability.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
Absolutely. And it's 3 people involved. Yes, Shelby was relentless. She did, you know, she pursued. Absolutely. Jed denied for a long time. And then, like you said, the dominoes fell. Rose pushed him away. I mean, it's not just one person's fault. It's a sad, it's a triangle, and it's sad and it's heartbreaking because it is reality and it is hard. And so, yeah. That
was to me the biggest plus, and I couldn't praise Richie enough. I said, you don't understand. You hit my son right between the eyes because it gave him a visual and a film from a different voice of what I've told him his whole life, and that is you as a man with a loving wife, a wonderful marriage, whatever it may be, are still going to be put in predicaments where your sexual desire is going to have you put on a shelf. But unfortunately, that sexual thirst that's inside of you, which is natural,
right,
is making you vulnerable to temptations and sin that you would maybe not be normally vulnerable to. And the film captured that beautifully. And that's what you're talking about. And I think that's what the Solomon story is so powerful, right? Because here is the wisest man ever. Bible says he's the wisest man in history. Who should know better? But not when it comes to the ladies. And it's like when the crack is there. But let me turn this upside down for a second. But you're a female musician. The men try to get to you too, right?
Oh goodness, yeah.
So it's the kind of thing where yes, it's described in this manner in this film, but this is real for everyone.
And I applaud you for talking to your son, and because like you said, I mean, sexuality, the wants of being with your wife, or those are natural things. God put those in our body. They are natural things. It's what you do with it, obviously, that matters and what counts. So yeah, I applaud you for kind of just voicing that because it's not something. It's something that being a faith-based film, hasn't been talked about truthfully.
Not boldly like this, right?
No,
because there's that moment. Because it's the moment we're in the living room and she's exhausted. It's not her fault, and he's looking at her like, yeah, but I'm here. It's not his fault, but that's the journey, right? That's the fork in the road. It's like, now what? And up until then, he's been fine. But now you see a slippery slope. And I keep telling, everyone says, this is why this faith-based film is so special. Because you're getting into an area where we're going to deal with that fork in the road, honestly.
Right.
It's not music for you. It's something else. But it's all the same stuff.
Absolutely.
Caitlin, talk a little bit about your music and the things that you're working on. You mentioned touring, that kind of thing. I know you and Al have been touring, promoting the song as well, being on the road, and that's been awesome, I'm sure. So talk about all that a little bit.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm having the time of my life. Dreams come true. So for me, it's getting to do, wonderful interviews, getting to talk about wonderful characters and message is new for me, and it is a blessing. But for being on the road, getting on the airplanes, the hotels, I love it. I'm used to it, and as well, I'm used to it because I've toured, been on the road with a lot of country and Americana artists the past 7 years. So to me, it just feels like home, going to sound check, getting to the venue. It's very homey for me. I'm comfortable doing this. And like I said, it's literally a dream come true for me to not only, when I was 15 years old, I had an acting coach have me write down my 5-year, 10-year, and 15-year goals. One of them was I wanted to be in a project where I got to act, sing, and play fiddle. At the time, I thought it was going to be on Broadway. And I didn't make that goal, and to be on a soundtrack. And I didn't make that goal within the time frame I wrote down on that piece of paper, but I did it. And so the fact that not only am I getting to sing, play my violin, which is my life, I'm also promoting a beautiful movie I'm proud of. So I honestly can tell you I'm living my dream right now.
Well, it's definitely a lot to be proud of, folks. It's called The Song. It opens September 26th, and there's a ton of interviews that we've been able to be blessed with. You definitely want to check out the film, learn more about it, learn how it can be in your community opening weekend. We have to take a big turnout again. We talk about The Splash, and 2014 has proved to be a very strong faith-based film year, and we need to include The Song in that conversation. Caitlin, lastly, just plug your website and Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. I know everybody's all plugged into now.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, my website is my initials. It's cntsongs.com, and my Twitter, my Instagram are all at cntsongs.
At CNT Songs. All right. There you have it. Thank you again for fitting us into your busy schedule.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it.